Nick, as you well know, our listeners have no idea the arduous trials that I've put myself through. I'm over here. I'm just looking at all this audio equipment that I have spent so much time trying to make work. And we did try to do. What happened though, Nick? Whenever we tried to do the thing where we talk to each other, I want to hear from your perspective. Why could we not use this good stuff?
It's obviously bad stuff. Two, no.
It's true.
When I would speak, your stuff, your audio would go from normal good audio that sounded real good in my ears into correct. Yeah, you
Nick, I thought it was pretty good. I tried so hard.
I don't know if that's an accurate analog to what we just did, but there you go.
Exactly. You nailed it. I thought you got it in one.
Hello and welcome to the year we started a podcast. It's a podcast born phoenix-like from the ashes earlier and also last year's podcast. I'm your very sad co-host, Jeff.
I am the co-host who didn't really know if I should have interjected or not. Nick. Nick is me.
This is the sort of energy that we like to bring.
Strong.
This is our podcast. We're a couple of mostly energetic and happy friends that are half a continent apart that want to come together and talk about some of the things that are fun and interesting us. Nick. Okay. We're just gonna all the things that I was gonna start this podcast off. I had so many good bits and such. They're just gone. So I'm reaching down to the podcast, like the bottom of the podcast barrel, to dig up whatever I can find. So we're gonna
that's a strong energy right there to just say that out loud. Like that's.
You know what? Sometimes honesty is the best medicine. Something, whatever. Podcast. Okay.
I don't think. Okay, that's not the same.
As they say, Nick, I'm trying my best. Okay. So, upcoming here is my birthday and also Mother's Day. That is a thing that has been paired together most of my life. By most of my life, my entire life. Like it's just because of how calendars work. My wife, my partner and I, celebrate this weekend our joint.
I heard you going to Borat there. I heard it. Okay.
There's so many good jokes I had with my new sound stuff I could have done. Anyways.
No. Unfortunate.
It's okay. No, anyways. So, Katie and I, we both have things to celebrate this weekend, and we're both busy folks and have, it would be nice to be able to relax a little bit. So I bought like this like little thing that you can sit in your chair. There's like upper back and lower back and etc. massage things. Like, it's like, I don't know, $80-$90 on Amazon. Certainly nothing, but also not like a huge investment. And I'll tell you what, Nick, we got it in today, and it sure seems like it would be really nice to try. So far, though, our kids have been the sole recipients of this gift. Literally, my son got it out of the box and figured out what it was and then wanted to try it out. And then my daughter, Alice, she has now, like, this is hers, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure we'll have to, like, sign, like, the clipboard when we can check it out, because this is now her thing.
This is an excellent gift to them for because they have actually been the ones who've needed a little treat in their life. They actually haven't gotten enough. And they've been overworked, actually. And I'm sorry, did you say what it was? What the gift was?
I'm sorry, it's like a little massage, like a chair massage thing. Like you could sit it like a upper back and lower back massage.
My back was aching all the time. When I was 3 to 5 or 3.
That's what I remember too. Right, yeah. So I get it. Like I get it. It wasn't what I intended it for.
Notoriously, 3-year-olds need massages more than adults. You know what I mean? Like 5-year-olds too, 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect.
I'm sure at my son's preschool they have like a half-hour massage built into every day, just because that's what they need. That's what the doctor orders.
The joints have taken some serious abuse, right? I mean, like, you gotta think, like 3 whole years, Jeff. 3 whole years.
All I could think of when you said joints taking abuse is just the involuntary grunt I do now when I stand up, no matter like how small of a stand up it is. Like I can't, like there is no way I can stand up from a chair without like giving some sort of involuntary noise. So yeah, but no, I'm glad that my son and daughter that are basically nothing but flexible cartilage can have this the joy of the self-massaging back rub thing. Oh, I think we lost the Nick.
Okay.
Are you still recording?
I am. I didn't stop.
I'm still recording too.
Good.
I just basically went on a whole rant about how I'm so glad that my kids, who are basically made out of flexible cartilage, are able to enjoy the massage thing, and me, the person who cannot stand up without involuntary vocal noises now as a mid 30s. Like I'm glad that they're able to navigate life with that luxury.
Right. Unlike,
just because you gotta have those sort of things to make it through as a young kid.
It's tough out there for a 3-year-old, for a 5-year-old. I keep saying 3, like your daughter.
Hey, you got the 3 and 5, So you got them both. Good job.
I nailed it. Also, whose internet goes out for like half a second when they're hardwired? Like, I don't understand what happened.
Dude.
Like,
I was going on a good old rant there, and I just kept going and going and going, expecting you to interrupt me, and then I got the noise that you left. It's like, oh no.
Well, I am glad that like I could just give you the impression that like I was rude enough to just like tune out and just like, yeah, whatever. He's gonna his rant about his kids or whatever he's doing.
Oh man, I tell you what, between like the intro before all of this, when I could not get my new stuff to work properly, and then you disconnecting, I mean, we're basically podcasting uphill both ways at this point.
I agree. Back in my day, I did
through the snow.
Uphill.
Through the snow.
Correct.
Oh
correct.
Man, this is a hard life we live.
It's all good.
But we're here for y'all. Man, this is great.
Oh my gosh.
Literally 10 out of 10. I mean, if we don't get a podcast award for this, I don't know what we're gonna get it for. I'll tell you what, Nick. I listened to our last episode, like the one with all the bird stuff and etc. Like that was a good time. I enjoyed listening to that. Katie listened to like the whole thing. It was like the first 30 minutes of the episode. Like that was a good time. We did good. You know what? We may not have done our best work these last 8 minutes, but Nick, we had a good half hour last time.
I didn't do anything in the last. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. God dang it.
So last year,
and I just caught myself from swearing. So I mean, it's a miracle.
I'm so proud of you. I don't even have to edit it out. So last year, Nick, we had a whole thing about sparkly water, different types of things and whatnot.
Yes.
Before I dive into where I'm at with this, where are you at with this? Is this still a thing that you care about?
I drink all kinds of different sparkling waters, like way too many. And I very politely don't call out which ones my wife purchases or my family has in their fridges that I think are detestable.
Is she still on the bubbly stuff that's terrible?
So I like some bubbly.
Okay.
Bubbly is just like a hit or miss thing based on the flavor.
Okay.
I have moved into I don't think I like a single Spindrift is where I'm at but I've only had like 3. But when you like you start with 3 bad ones, you're like, all right, well, I'm not. I know. I already know that you like Spindrift. I already know this.
My whole topic, that is this like little small update, is how much I like Spindrift.
Yeah, well, you're dropping the ball.
Right, okay.
You're either dropping the ball or my brother is dropping the ball and has fed me the wrong ones.
Okay, that's what I want to know. So what ones have you tried that you apparently have a bad taste for?
Grapefruit.
Oh, it's my favorite one!
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm way too polite to say how garbage it is. You know what I mean? Just way too polite.
Nick, I have at least one a day. Okay, other than grapefruit, don't say. Don't. Okay, can I tell you what not to say? Don't say pineapple, and don't say the raspberry lime combo one.
Okay, well, I actually haven't had those, so there you go.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go. I think I had a lime one, and I was like, I love all of the lime ones. Well, how is this one bad? And that's kind of like,
oh man,
correct. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Is like I don't understand that. I mean, you know how Some drinks are different depending on how you serve them. Maybe, there's just something wrong with my brother's fridge.
Were you having them hot? Is his fridge a heater?
They're cold. They're cold, and everything else I've ever had from his house is fine. So, but maybe it's not that you're a freak who likes bad food. It's just bad drinks. It's the fridge. That's what it is. Jeff.
What's the other ones you don't like that you've tried?
I actually don't know.
Or do you
don't
know?
remember.
Okay.
There is a third one.
Well, you said
I
grapefruit, which is literally my favorite. So
you're welcome.
I mean, we agree to disagree. What bubbly water do you find pleasurable to your taste buds, Nick? If not Spindrift.
Okay, so I do like the LaCroix combo ones. There's a couple of good LaCroix combo ones. What are the combos that I like from LaCroix? Hold on. I'm sorry. This is important. I have to. I want to be accurate. You know what I mean?
Was it the LaCroix that I ordered off of Amazon where I got the one LaCroix back at the beginning of the podcast, or was that something else? Was that Waterloo or something?
I think it was Waterloo.
I got a coconut Waterloo or something. I just got a single one for $8.
Great, the real good deal. Real good deal.
real great deal.
Limoncello is a hit or miss. Black raspberry is always good. Beach plum is a weird one that's really good from LaCroix.
Beach plum.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, I've had plums before, so I know what that tastes like. Mm-hmm. Beach feels a little sandy. I'm not gonna lie. Is there is that a substitute for a flavor of some sort?
It is a flavor. Beach plum is a flavor. The beach part is not the part of the flavor. It's just a plum. It's really just a plum.
So it's just a type of plum?
I guess. I actually have no idea. It's a good question.
I'll accept it. You know what? I don't want to know. I'm going to accept that it's a type of plum. Okay.
Yeah. And then the cherry lime and the kiwi watermelon one and the blackberry cucumber ones are all good combos. They're all solid combos. Would recommend.
Okay.
I don't have a refined palate in anything. I'm the guy who if you're oh, what's your favorite drink, Nick? Oh, tell me about your alcohol of choice. I'd be whiskey. It sure is whiskey. You know this one that I like? This one right here? This one is stronger? I don't know.
What would Nick like? House, please.
House, please.
As you'd recommend. Okay, fair enough. Well, whatever. You know what? I mean, we can't all have good tastes, especially when it comes to spindrifts and grapefruits.
You can literally use this as your argument against me. It's literally that I just don't have a refined enough palate. I am too much of a Neanderthal, an uncultured swine. It's not you, it's me.
No, I agree. Yeah, sorry, if that wasn't clear. I accept this. I accept your deficiencies as the reason. Okay. Nick, take us. We gotta go to something else. We can't just talk about how bad you are at taste.
Okay. Okay, Jeff. I did a little bit of research on this one. And you want to know what my favorite kind of research is?
What's your favorite kind of research?
When you go 10 pages deep on Google and you don't find any answers. That's what I like.
Okay, but, hold on. You said 10 pages deep.
That is inaccurate. Probably 5, but a lot of
I didn't know there was past 1. Oh, I didn't even know you could go.
I know.
I didn't know went to new pages. If you get past the halfway point,
that's what the dark web is. I'm not positive on that.
I think so. I think you're probably right.
But really what I found out is that when you go past the first page of Google, at least nowadays, it gives you a lot of the same stuff, or it gives you nothing. It gives you nonsense. So anyways, it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
It's probably also very dependent on what you're searching. I don't know why I said that, but it doesn't matter. Jeff, do you know what a paper fortune teller is?
A paper fortune teller.
Yeah. Also called a cootie catcher or a salt cellar.
Is that the...
I already know that you know what it is.
I don't want to say it because I'm embarrassed if I'm wrong because it's going to be so far off. Is it the thing that you fold and you do the... you sent me a thing. Hold on.
I did.
Yep, that's the thing I was too embarrassed to say.
Describe it.
Okay, so I remember it being a thing that we would do, and I'm just going to... I haven't thought about this in so long. So basically, it was a thing you could fold out of paper. I think just a normal piece of paper, like printer paper. And you would write certain things on the outside, but specifically you would have numbers or letters or something on the inside. And basically it would be a four-cornered thing, 4 little pyramid-looking deals on each side, and you would do up, out, up, out, and like however many times, like you said, for the person that was doing the thing, and depending on how many times you did something, I feel like you maybe did it a couple different times, and then like you would unfold it, and there would be something on the inside, and it would be like whatever your crush was, or some other stupid thing. Or it would have like
some dumb thing in your if your fortune, right. That's the fortune part for the paper fortune teller.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Do you know what I mean when I talk about the game MASH for kids?
I have literally no idea.
No, okay. I didn't think you. I didn't know this. I didn't.
Maybe by a different name, but I have no idea.
So MASH, as in mansion, apartment, shack, different things, and house.
I'm less aware of what you're talking about than when we started. Go ahead.
Okay. No, you're fine. So, and I've got a third for you. And everybody at home, do you know what the Stussy S is, or the Superman S? I mean, the Superman S is the wrong term for it. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the Stussy S?
Is that the thing with the 3 lines for the top and 3 lines for the bottom?
Yep.
Yep. I definitely knew about that because my last name started with S, and so like,
so everybody,
cool. I knew how to do it. Yeah.
So you capitalize it, and therefore you had to have the really cool block letter.
Of course. Yeah. I knew that for sure.
These 3 things are all things that you and I know about from Kansas and California. And MASH you didn't know about. MASH is before I go on, MASH is a paper and pencil game, kind of like the paper fortune thing, but like you don't in the fact that you're trying to determine like a future based off of like a number and off of like guessing. It's kind of silly to explain, but it was another kids game that was similar to a paper fortune teller.
Okay.
MASH is just an acronym for mansion, apartment, shack, house, and it was like you would basically determine through like guessing random numbers, like what your future was going to be, like whether you're going to have a good house or a good a good job or a good
Nick,
live in a good city.
Literally, as you're saying this, like I am remembering through the faintest of memories this being a thing. Like the little cootie catcher or whatever the heck it's called. Like I remember that because it was unique because like you make something on a paper, and like you like do the hand thing, and I like used to know how to fold it and whatever. The thing you're talking about though, like I also remember this now that you've said it.
Yep. It's
like I can literally remember sitting I can literally remember sitting in elementary school at one of our desks with some other people and doing some weird like whatever it is you're talking about. Now I do remember doing something about this because I remember it's like what you lived in and something else. Like this is crazy. Holy cow! I have not thought about this ever.
Why do you and I, from several thousand miles apart, in basically the same time period, right? But like, why do you and I know so many of the same games? And there's more. I mean, like we've talked about the fact that we know like a bunch of the same like children's rhymes and stuff.
Sure,
but how does this kind of information travel so cleanly and succinctly across a continent? Across because my wife knows all these games too. And for our listeners, my wife was born and raised in Pennsylvania, in a small town in Pennsylvania, no less. Like very rural. So
we've now spanned the continent.
Right. We've literally gone from both coasts and the Midwest. I mean, so the reason I bring this up is I find this kind of thing really interesting, not because of I have literally, even as I looked this up, I didn't really care enough to look at the actual rules for MASH. I'm like, oh, different places play it differently. That's cool. I don't care. But I find it really interesting that this kind of stuff could have spread so well, so cleanly without the internet. And what I found is nobody really has any research on this stuff, but it must have just been word of mouth. But the one that's really interesting is the S, the S that everybody in the world knows how to draw, which, as you described, is the three vertical lines, 2 sets of 3 vertical lines connected by diagonal lines, or there can be horizontal lines. It's drawn both ways. Because you've known how to draw that forever, right?
Yeah, and Nick, I will say I've Googled the heck out of the MASH thing you're talking about, and not only do I remember it, I now remember this vividly. like super vividly now, like because like that was I felt like it had something to do with not only like where you lived or whatever, but like also like it was like a boyfriend girlfriend sort of thing, like when you were in grade school or whatever.
Yep.
And like I looked it up, and the first thing I saw was like that sort of thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is. I remember this. I hated school so much. I'm so anxious.
It's totally. For what it's worth, the stuff that I saw very much implied that both the Paper Fortune Teller and MASH were more played by young girls. And I even read a really good article about why that is. That was like kind of messed up because it's like, yeah, I mean, women have less agency, so they find games of chance to be more realistic or something. And I'm like, oh, that's rough.
Good job, 90s.
Yep.
Early aughts.
Right.
Oh,
and then there's a book that I did not read because that just chronicles a bunch of these examples of fun children's games that just spread like wildfire throughout the 20th century. And I think all of them have different origins. The Paper Fortune one, Fortune Teller, has an origin from like an origami book, like that was like a children's origami book. And from there, though, it doesn't really explain to me how it spread so well and so like why in particular spread. What I was interested in is like what did it say that we spread it, and what is is there like a thing about us socially that we want to be able to have these games all over, but I is there some kind of common thread that keeps us tied to them?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find anything of the sort. I found Reddit threads of people asking like, is there any research into this? And literally just like empty threads. There's like 4 of them. I found Quora answers that did not answer what the people were asking about, like why it answer. You know how it is.
I'm so surprised that Quora didn't answer all your problems, Nick.
I know. It's a shocking turn of events. And for our listeners, in case you're ever wondering how scientific I am about social sciences, like, the extent of my interest and ability to dig in this is Google, Reddit, and Quora results, because,
yeah. The height of all inquiry is
how
Quora,
would I even search this on like an anthropology thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like children's anthropology around games. Like, you know what I mean?
No, it is crazy.
So, but the S one is the interesting one. Do you have a term for the S?
I genuinely don't. I do know that I like learned it super, super young, cause like I said, the last name, but like I have no idea why I knew how to do that, like who taught me or anything. I just know that I did it a lot.
Right. I asked 3 people, and all 3 of them called it either the Superman S or the Stussy S. And I called it the Stussy S, and my wife called it the Superman S. So of the small sample size, but either
I think I would have called it the Superman S if you held me to having to have an answer. Like that would have been what I would have said. But
that's totally fair. I'm sure no answer, or like no, just the S, or like whatever. Wikipedia calls it the cool S. I don't know why they call it the cool S. But what I think is interesting about that one is that there is no actual like definitive answer on where it first appears. So both Stussy and Suzuki and DC, or frickin' whoever, I forget because I watched the video on it, but whoever it is that drew the original Superman, I assume that was DC, but I don't know that as a fact. All refute that it's theirs originally. That all of them say no, it wasn't us. It's been around longer than us. Stussy, for those who don't know, is a clothing brand that I think it's from California. But they're like a Vans style streetwear clothing brand.
Anyways, that all the cool kids wore back in the aughts.
I'm sure I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair. Neither one of us.
Exactly. A YouTube video from a Swedish YouTuber said that he studied the topic, quote unquote, for 5 years and attempted to find the original origin of it, calling around to all these places that I've listed, but then I've also been called before about this, or I've spoken about it before as well. And he found a 1890 book mechanical graphics, which was written by a professor at the time, that he believes is the origin. So it's a Princeton professor who taught geometry, who wrote a book called Mechanical Graphics, which is possibly the root. But at that point, I'm not convinced that's a that he couldn't have been influenced by something else. And the YouTuber does not also says, he doesn't know that definitively or anything like that.
Can I just say also, if it took you, I mean, you said 5 years.
So he says, which is insane.
I mean, come on. I mean, like, if you were legitimately trying to find something and it took you 5 years in this day and age, like, you've found something. I mean, I don't know. That seems suspect at best. But sure.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think it's worth saying that what I find interesting about this one is that, like, why is this that's so easy to draw and so, like, simple, but it has no meaning? It has no real meaning. I have no idea why this lasted was able to spread, and I have no purpose for it. I just doodled it in notebooks in class, and I assume it was the same for you, right? Like, there's no. Yeah. I mean, you said you used it as like the S in your name, but
I legit probably have randomly done it in meetings at work now, even to this day, like, because it's just a random doodle thing.
Right. Exactly.
It's very weird.
So I just found this all interesting. I think I rambled on longer than I meant to, and I apologize for that.
It's okay.
But it's wild to me and super cool that we're so interconnected and that we can have similar interests and similar things that grab us, especially when we're young. That we can have so much in common across such huge spans of time and distance. And to think about, like, an S that some guy drew in, like, a book, a professor of all people drew in a book, becoming like a viral thing. Viral is like the only word I could think of for this kind of thing. For 120 years or 130 years,
right? Like analog viral, like before,
right?
Which is that is wild, but that absolutely was the case. Like, for all these three things. Yep. That's very cool. No, this is good. I like it. Makes me remember a lot of things for sure.
Me too. There's more that we could go into. I just thought those were the three big ones. And there's others that are more ubiquitous, but I saw that, like, tag is ubiquitous and hide and seek. But are those games that, like, were kind of ingrained or, like, passed on through parents and stuff a little bit more? Because I thought this was something that was interesting too, is I don't think these are the kinds of things that are taught to you by adults. They're taught to you by other children, right? So
so tag is obvious. Let's play this game a little bit. What about, like, did you ever play Sardines?
No, I don't know what Sardines is.
Like, where everybody would hide, and then this might be like a church type sort of game.
Yeah.
But
no,
like, everybody would
say
like cram in to a place and hide as you found people. Like, everybody would have to, like, hide in there and pack in, like, sardines, and as people got found. But
no, I can't say I did. I have one. Did you play? You played Knockout in basketball, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. And I assume. Well, I know we've played 21 against each other.
Yeah.
So, we've.
I think those are both interesting in that they're not, like, things that we spread through the internet, right? I mean, I played Knockout when I was
as a grade schooler for sure.
Absolutely.
Which would have predated internet stuff. So yeah, no, lots of basketball specific things, I'm sure.
Or at least there's two. And I'm sure that, like, so I wondered with that how much of those games are passed on through adults having to watch children as opposed to through what I assume is mostly through children. I'm sure that, like, if it came from an origami book that a 6-year-old didn't read an origami book and then tell another 6-year-old, I'm sure that, like, parents were involved,
sure,
but probably less involved if for things like paper fortune tellers, the S and the MASH game. I assume that this is just word of mouth from children to children.
I think so. I think you're right. So, Nick, I have lived in Kansas for a long time. I would say my entire life. So, I mean, I guess as long as you can call that.
Since the 30s.
Since the 30s, the early 30s. Man, Nick, it's going to be the 30s before we know it. And that's so weird. And I don't like it at all. That is weird.
Don't say that. Okay.
I don't like it at all.
Let's move on from that.
And you know what, Nick? It's going to be the 30s, and I won't be in my 30s anymore. I'll be in my 40s, and that's terrible. I'm always going to be leading the decade. Okay. That is the sort of introspection that I would prefer to not think about. And so, anyways, we've talked about the.
I think all introspections I prefer not to think about.
Yeah,
sorry,
continue. You know. So, before, I'll just tip my hand ahead of time. So, tornado recently here in Kansas, and Nick and I have talked about this a good bit, both through text message and in our Patreon podcast. I did cut a good chunk of it out, just because I wanted to take a fresh pass at this whole experience because it is pretty interesting. But just so you know, that's where we're at. It's tornado stuff that we're going to be talking about just for a little bit. So I've lived in Kansas a long time, and I have before, it's probably been a couple years, but back when we just had the one kid, we practiced going down to our basement in our new house. At the time, it was new house, and going where we would go when the tornado came, which is kind of a whole decision thing because there's multiple places that you could go for a tornado in Kansas.
I could see that.
You have for us, we have our storage room, which is all concrete walls, which seems like an okay choice, but there's so many things there. Then we have a room that has a closet that is against a concrete wall. So if things were to collapse, you're up against the concrete wall, so you're probably going to be fine. But right now, that's our playroom for the kids, and there's no door on the closet, and that was originally where we would go. But we're such a big family now with all of us, everybody getting so big, we can't really jam ourselves into the corner safely. And then we have our middle of the basement bathroom, which is what we've actually landed on as our current place to go. It has lots of benefits. One, it's in the middle of the house, in the lowest level, and when you have young kids that have to go to the bathroom, it's right there, so there's no stress there. We can put shoes and whatnot in the underneath the sink, because having shoes in a tornado situation is super important. If you do get hit by a tornado, being able to get out safely, shoes are super nice to have. And so that's kind of where we've landed on where we're going to go as a family. And so like I said, I've lived in Kansas for a very long time. And this was a situation where during, when you live in a place where tornadoes are common, the local news will kind of, hype up the fact that there might be some sort of, severe weather upcoming. But it happens all the stinking time because ratings and etc. Of course, everybody wants to, know all the latest on all the.
Check in again with us in 5 minutes and in an hour and every day.
Please watch these commercials specifically.
Right. I will say there is also an element of you wouldn't want them to be too lax about it either, right?
Certainly. Of all the things that are going to vie for my attention, I would like the severe weather to err on the side of hyperbole, because maybe I check in too often, but the opposite of that is mucho bad. So I'm certainly happy to be made aware.
I know you're I know we're on the same page now, but I'm a big fan of the thought of a weather guy being it's fine, it's Kansas, nothing bad happens in Kansas, it's fine.
Right? Yeah, nothing happens, it's fine. So, anyways, lived in Kansas for a very long time. It's kind of been hyped up on the news that it's going to be, the potential for severe weather. And, like I said, it happens significantly often. It's not a crazy thing. However, I being a person who's lived in Kansas my entire life, being outside during that day at multiple points, especially, I actually had a work thing where we had after work, had a couple drinks at a place locally, and it was outdoors, and I could just feel the change in the weather, and I could feel the weather heating up so rapidly. I'm you know what? When we went home, you know what? We haven't taught Alice, our youngest, how to do the tornado thing, and this feels bad. And so, legitimately, I was you know what? Alice, after like when we're done with dinner, we're gonna go do like the practice, like where we go, and we talked about tornadoes with her and stuff like that. And so after we ate dinner, I took her downstairs, and I had her actually pretend like she was laying in bed, and then I would come wake her up, and then we would go downstairs and go to the basement, and we would have our shoes and like what all that would be like. And so she got to experience like a practice run of that. She's curious and asked some questions like a good 3-year-old would. It was generally like, it was like one of those things where like, I'm glad that we did it just in case we ever need to. And especially like considering like today feels a little sketchy. So it was good. And so like
apparently it was prophetic. I mean, like, or not even prophetic.
Yeah,
apparently you have good instincts on the weather.
I had good instincts on the weather. So I did all that. And then an hour later, we started to see some pretty wicked storms roll in with some pretty wicked clouds. And Nick, I love sitting out. I mean, we even have it in this podcast where I like had a recording of some rain. Like I love hanging out in my garage and listening to the rain and thunderstorms roll through. And my son also loves that. And so like we were planning to go hang out and sit in the garage and watch the storm roll through. And I see like some nasty looking clouds. And as I'm like finding these chairs to like watch the storm roll through. And then my phone tells me that there is a tornado warning for my county. And it's like, well, this is...
You did the right thing. You did good.
We've practiced this. I'm going to go ahead and close my garage door now. I'm going to get my dog inside. And we're going to go to the basement because like at this point, it's like tornado warnings don't happen usually without there being a good reason for it. And so I don't know any details. We haven't been watching the weather like we haven't, like we've been keeping tabs on the radar, but we haven't been like listening into anything. And last we had, like there was no like immediate threat. Like it was just like, it might happen. We'll see. So tornado warning shows up on our phone. Good job, National Weather Service, by the way. And so we get the kids down to the basement, like we practiced, and we got them down there. And as we're like doing that, my wife gets a call and from her mom saying like talking about a tornado that is on the ground. Her mom lives south of us by like 7 or 10 miles or something like that.
So not far.
Not far. And there's a tornado on the ground.
I'm sorry, this is a dumb question. I don't know if you have a good answer. How far is far for a tornado warning? Like, is 20 miles like, oh, it's fine? Or is
20 miles is be in basement if you don't know where it is.
Got it. Okay.
And if you can see it and it is headed your way and it's within a mile, you've done a bad job at being in the basement, because you should be, because a tornado can pick up and drop down a mile in literally like 10 seconds. So
yikes.
Like that's when it's time to be done watching it.
Got it.
So
I just want to let you know that this is that whole explanation is very Kansas to me, because I can't see like a block in any direction.
Oh yeah, no, that is crazy. I kind of hear that sometimes when people come to Kansas for the first time, of like where visibility is only limited by the curvature of the earth.
Right. Yes.
Where like 10 miles is like where you can reasonably see. Given like no major, like if it's not super cloudy or foggy or whatever. So, like you can see 10 miles away pretty easily.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Katie's mom tells us they can see a tornado and they're like, 7 to 10 miles away, kind of on the edge of that. And I got the kids downstairs. Katie goes upstairs to look, and sure freaking enough, she can see a tornado. And I'll tell you, Nick, I have lived in Kansas my entire life. I love weather and such. Mm-hmm. I've seen some tornadoes very, very distantly on the horizon. So I thought this was what I was going to walk up to. So I run upstairs with Katie when she says she can see that, leaving the kids downstairs.
Good call.
And freaking there's a tornado there. The first thing I want to do is take pictures, because it's very far away still. Like we're safe, like a safe distance, and I don't know if I'm ever going to see a tornado this close ever again.
I was going to say the photo you sent me is like, it's concerningly large in my opinion.
Nick, I'll hold, don't spoil too much here. I've got a little bit to go. So it's far away, and at this point, it's like I take pictures, and I'm actually Katie's phone is the one. My phone was pretty close to dead, and it was charging downstairs. So like I'm taking pictures with Katie's phone. And like she's still on the phone with her mom, and God bless her, like she's talking to us, and like I'm taking pictures, and like her phone kept like messing up because it was like doing the thing where like it goes black because it thinks like it's up to your ear, and that meant I couldn't take pictures anymore. So I just like straight up just hung up on her so I could take some pictures. She knows this now, I think. So I take pictures of this, and then I tell Katie like, hey, I think my phone's charged enough. Go get my phone. You can talk to your mom. I want to take more pictures, and then like FaceTime some people. Because like there's a tornado, like my brother has been like a sort of person who's like loved chasing tornadoes back when he was younger, and like it was just like I had to share this moment with my brother, because like there's literally a tornado that I can just see off my back deck, and so I do that. I do some like we take lots of pictures, do the thing. It kind of goes behind the trees a little bit, and also like sirens start going off, and whatever. Like let's go back down. We can't see it anymore. We don't know exactly where it is. So go back down to the basement, and I can't remember all the circumstances, but curiosity, etc. Go back out of the basement, find the tornado. And tornado is now significantly closer. This is where I FaceTimed you, Nick. You stupid
and I
butt.
did not answer.
Nick, he did not answer. In all fairness,
I was in my car. Yeah,
you were in your car, and also we don't have the sort of relationship where we just randomly FaceTime each other. So,
terrifying kind of relationship. I don't know what that is.
10 out of 10 times, that's going to be just the FaceTime butt dial. So I don't blame you. But I did.
Apparently, it's
FaceTime
9 out of 10 times because nine
out of 10 times, the 10th time it could be a tornado. I did FaceTime one other friend of mine just to show them the tornado. At this point, it was past Andover, where it did all the damage that got to be all over the news, and was headed our direction, but a little bit off center. And it was at that point where I got all the really crazy good pictures where it looked really big. It got to the point where it was about 1.5 miles away. And then it like straightened out toward us for a little bit. And it was like, welp, now to the basement. I think even in maybe the picture I'd sent you or a video I'd sent somebody, like you could even hear me like get a little bit flustered because it definitely, I don't know if it came through on the video, but like in person, you could see it shift like back toward our town.
Oh
like,
man, that's terrifying.
And that's when we immediately went down and did the proper thing of sitting in the bathtub in our basement with the kids. And ultimately, tornado passed. There were no actual casualties from the tornado directly, which is pretty crazy because it did a lot of damage.
I was gonna say it looks like it was huge to me. And
it was pretty strong. Yeah,
speaks to people doing the right thing.
It tossed a tornado into our local YMCA. The tornado tossed multiple vehicles into the lobby of our local YMCA, which is pretty crazy. Which sucks because that was the one that we had close by. That's where our kids were going to do swimming lessons and such. So that's kind of a bummer. So that wasn't great. It definitely did a toll on a handful of neighborhoods nearby. We actually spent a good part of our weekend cleaning up one of our people that we know's yard and house and etc. It was pretty wild. I've never been a part of anything like that before, where being in a neighborhood that had been hit by a tornado directly, that there were probably 30, 40 people per house that were out. Parking was literally wild. My poor little Ford Escape, I was worried it was not going to get up back out of the side of the road because I had driven down just recklessly off the side of the road into a place to park where other people were parking. It took us probably 2-3 minutes to get out of that. But no, it was really cool to be a part of the cleanup. It was pretty eye-opening just how much work that actually is.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be something that goes on for a very, very long time.
We were talking about the kind of wreckage of some of the places around us in natural disasters, because there's another town that you said that was just ravaged by a tornado, right? In your nearby area. So
Greensburg, Kansas, 15 years ago, I believe, to the day that we're recording, got completely flattened.
And sometimes that cleanup just never really happens, right? Like sometimes there's stuff that's just left behind, and like wreckage.
Oh
just
yeah,
left.
For sure. And this was certainly not nearly as bad as what hit that. And honestly, there was also another tornado that hit Andover back in 30 some odd years ago, and this wasn't quite as bad as that at all either. But even still, the people that are affected by it, that doesn't matter. Like if it hit them, it hit them as hard as it would have any of these other ones. And just seeing so much destruction, so many huge giant trees getting destroyed. It is pretty wild, pretty crazy experience. I've never seen anything like it before. Living in Kansas, it's certainly a thing that's always on, in the back of your mind as far as what the natural, weather threats are. But even for us, it's fairly rare. But to have it this close and to be able to see it in person and also help clean up in person definitely gives
terrifying
a lot of... terrifying is a good way to put it. A lot more respect. I mean, not that you would ever be reckless on purpose, but just the respect for what it can actually do, and also understanding of what that does to a community. And when that sort of because all I could think about also was some hurricanes that I've hit recently, because we've had over the last 10 years. I mean, we've had some pretty interestingly strong hurricanes that have just, really ravaged some places in the U.S. And they have the same problems as far as rebuilding goes, and they make it to the news cycle for the first week. But the actual impact of those are going to be multi-year problems for those people.
Yep.
I mean, especially right now, the ability for people to rebuild is significantly hindered by supply chain problems and just the cost of rebuilding in general. And if they don't have a livable house, they're going to have to sort through that for, conservatively a couple years at best. And
right.
That's
not even mentioning the cost, right? Like, because there's a massive cost.
Yeah, and that's really hard, and we forget about those things so quickly. It's really easy for us, if it doesn't impact us directly, to forget that. And that's even coming from a person who got to go, literally rake the ground for hours to get debris cleaned up. And it'll be really easy for me to, put that in the back of my mind and not worry about it, even though for the people that impacted is going to be something that's going to be at the front of their mind for the foreseeable future. I don't know. It was an interesting perspective on natural disaster type things and just how...
And an experience, right? I mean, I'm glad you're taking the right thing from it. I think it's really cool that you got to see it. It's also awful and terrible that it happened, right? It's a weird mixture.
Yeah, I mean, it was very cool and awe-inspiring to see. And certainly it's a lot easier to talk about since nobody died from the tornado hitting them. So, obviously that helps a lot. But as cool as it was, also just seeing the suffering firsthand of what that will do to these families and how they're going to have to, live their lives for the next chapter of what they're going to be going through is pretty humbling also. And just really the biggest thing I think was just remembering all the other just the hurricanes and people we had talked about the other day of just wildfires and all these people that have their lives disrupted by nature. It seems really like a thing we care about in the moment, and then we move on, but their lives don't, and it's hard.
I've always been very interested, but I don't want to freaking derail this. Always been very interested by how do you combat the news cycle nature of attention? Because I don't even think this is really, even when I say news cycle, I don't mean to put this on media companies, because you're not over there because your local news station told you that the not really, it's not the news station. It's not that a cable news or a local news station is blasting to you that people need help in the town over. So I don't really think of this explicitly as a media problem, even though I think a lot of things are exacerbated or caused by media, and I think our attention is very influenced by media. But how do you, if there's a really long lasting problem that needs constant attention, I don't really know how you keep constant community attention on it. And I say this, I'm not expecting you to, if you have a way of solving it, hit me up.
No, I do genuinely think that long, hard, systemic problems are a thing that we are going to have to figure out how to deal with. and they're very incompatible with how. I mean, it's not the news's fault or it's not the internet's fault for that. I mean, I think the internet's news cycle or like just the turn of what's interesting is just too quick for, solving those sorts of problems because of human nature, just how we, how long we can care about a thing. But I do think there's just a lot of problems that aren't going to be things that you just solve in 2 weeks. And I
also know that there's activists and people like, I don't know, researchers, community leaders, whatever, that invest themselves in problems long term that the rest of us might think about just occasionally or whatever. So I don't want to put it down like, the fact that the idea that nobody, obviously people do. I just wish it was more widespread.
Yeah, no, and I would say like I do think that if you are the sort of person who wants to, support people that are like if you have like a cause that you want to support, I think people trying to solve longer term problems are great candidates for that support. It's really easy to get a lot of short term aid whenever you have a country that gets hit by a hurricane or earthquake or whatever. But it's really a different thing to solve for like, long-term healthcare problems or places that get their entire, power grid destroyed. And it's going to take a decade to rebuild to get to the point where they were. Right. I mean, that sort of stuff is really difficult and long and not the sort of thing that's going to be a sexy newsline headline. So definitely an interesting problem because a lot of those things are the things that matter the most for the most amount of people, but just not the things that are going to be, on Reddit or whatever. So
agreed. Big agreed. I don't know. Yeah. You're completely right.
All right. Well, Nick, I have other things about weather and forecast and other things and things that would be fun to talk about, but we are definitely good on time. So I'm going to take us out. If you would like to, podcasts on the off weeks that we do not do this one is our Patreon podcast, patreon.com/TiWasap. And we'll have some other things coming. Little teaser again, second week, still figuring some stuff out. But for now, patreon.com/TiWasap.
You can also follow us at TiWasap on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but not Snapchat. And you can find all of that at TiWasap.com.
Nick, thank you for talking about all these secrets with me. I did one. Yeah, you do your part now.
Jeff, thank you so much for oozing with me. You are all welcome. No! This has been the year we started the podcast. Thank you all for listening.
Help me.
Oh, God. I feel dirty saying it. I feel wrong. Did I violate my own ears? I think I violated my own ears. This is bad.